Talking Beavers is presented by Par Lumber. Oregon State takes down number 18 UCLA to the tune of 36-24. Now moving into the bye, perfect at home still.
Awesome crowd. Made a difference without a doubt. The place was electric.
Awesome crowd indeed. Welcome into Talking Beavers. I'm Asia McCord alongside Jason Jean-Baptiste, played defensive end for OSU 2001, 2003. And then we have Mike Parker, the voice of the Beavers. And so, Mike, I want to get started with you. We heard Jonathan talk about how impactful that crowd is. I know you were there. You felt it. How big of a difference did those Beaver Nation, Beaver faithful, make on Saturday night?
AJ, it was a spectacular atmosphere, the largest crowd yet, homecoming, and people were coming, different generations. You could see before the game there was high energy and anticipation for the matchup, and then the defense doing its part, taking the ball away early. The offense began to click with some big plays, really big plays that we'll talk about as we go on the show. But the crowd made its biggest impact in the end, when the game was still somewhat in doubt. UCLA could score, recover an onside kick, and still win the game, only down 12. But I thought Beaver Nation in those moments made UCLA's offense almost dysfunctional. It was so loud, false start after false start, and the Beavers then began to get home a little bit on the quarterback that they'd intercepted 3 times earlier. 5 sacks, penalties, false starts. Beaver Nation had a lot to do with that defense rising up to make great plays and seal a tremendous homecoming win. And Jason, speaking of homecoming, you came back to your alma mater. I got to see you with Alvin Smith's family, your dear friend whom we lost a few years ago before the game. So it was a high energy thing, even though there was some poignancy for you. But you were on the field with Alvin's family and felt that energy. What was it like down there?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mike. You know, I want to take a time to put an emphasis on homecoming and what that really means. Because for a lot of us players, former players and present players alike, Oregon State is our home. A lot of us are not necessarily from Oregon. We come from all over the country. For me, I came all the way from New Jersey. For Alvin Smith, he came all the way from Georgia. So when we go to these types of games, to see the energy and the love that we feel from Oregon State fans, from the fan base, from the people, former players that were there, which we had a multitude of foreign players there. There was Dwan Edwards that was there. There's Richard Siegler, Marty Maurer, Joe Newton. So for us, it was something truly special. And for Alvin's family, Alvin was a really close friend of mine who had an untimely death in 2019. His sister and his son, Judah, who hadn't been back to Oregon State in over 4 years, for them to be there and see the love that people had for him, had for us as former players was truly amazing. The energy on the field was electric. I walked around the terrace on the alumni gathering and even in the club suites and all that, just to see and feel what the energy was like throughout the course of the stadium. And Mike, I don't know if I've ever been at Reser and had the feeling that I had. It was truly heartwarming.
That's great.
That's awesome, Jason. Thank you for sharing that. A very cool moment at Reser Stadium, a few of them. And we talk about college football being a home, right? And how you found yours, Jason. Certainly so many student athletes feeling that way. One of those players, a current one here on Oregon State's roster, DJ Uiagalelei. He is the quarterback transferred from Clemson, and my goodness, it feels like he is hitting his stride as a Beaver. That brings us now. It is time for our opening drive, brought to you by Capital Toyota, your way on the Parkway. Uiagalelei has gone back-to-back weeks without turning the ball over, and he says right now he is playing the most confident he ever has in a Beaver uniform.
I feel like I have a lot better grasp for the offense. For me, man, like I said, I feel comfortable. I feel confident each and every time I get the ball, every time I'm throwing the ball. And for a quarterback, man, when you're playing confident and you're playing at peace, it's amazing. And that's the best feeling you can get, kind of like that Zen mode. You kind of don't see the outside noise, you don't feel the pressure.
Jason, we always talk about when the game slows down for a quarterback, that is when you know things are going to go poorly for the opposing defense. How have you seen the game slow down for DJ, particularly in the last few weeks, and the impact that has had on this OSU offense?
Well, I think the offense is thriving, AJ and Mike. I think, DJ, one of the things that I've noticed these last couple games is that he's really becoming more and more of efficient passer. You know, his accuracy has been there. We always knew that he had a strong arm, but he has a believability in his, receivers. I mean, like, you look at, the stat line, there's really 4 receivers that he threw the ball to the whole entire night, and 3 of which that had more than 1 reception. So I think, his believability in Gould, and obviously Silas Bolden and in Velling. I mean, there was a couple times there, like, where he just threw the ball up and he had the believability, again, I can't emphasize that enough, of his players going up and making the catch. There's that one Velling jump catch that he had, which was a huge, huge part of the game. There's another pass play to Bolden where it was a little bit of a tip drill, and he was able to come down with it. And, I mean, to see him come through this transition of, having like this up and down games and now having the consistency in which this offense needs to thrive has been truly amazing, Mike.
It really has. And AJ and Jason, there was a sense, through the first several weeks, what did you really have at the quarterback position, in that, as my broadcast partner Jim Wilson has said, the first couple of weeks you didn't really quite know what you had just based on the opposition you were playing. Then there was a little bit of a setback, in a sense, against San Diego State when things didn't go quite as well. Then the tough outing at Washington State. And Jonathan Smith was asked in a press conference following the loss in Pullman, are you guys better at quarterback in 2023? Now, looking back over the very question, which was not an uninformed question, it was a fair question at the time, given what we had seen, as Jason, you referenced a little bit of up and down. But Jonathan gave an unqualified, yes, we are. And certainly what's happened since has borne that out. And we are seeing before our very eyes, I think, all of that 5-star, #1 pro-style passer in the country status that he enjoyed when he made his commitment to Clemson out of St. John Bosco. I think what he had hoped, what DJ had hoped, what Coach Smith and Brian Lindgren had hoped, we're beginning to see it come into play. The balance between the Beavers' run game, which was good enough. I mean, heck, they doubled what UCLA usually gives up on the ground. Between that and the ability to hit those big shots down the field, something that was sorely missing last year, it's been a joy to watch DJU's maturation and growth into the quarterback I think everybody thought he could be.
Yeah, 14 of 24, 266 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not a bad way to go into the bye week. Jason, you mentioned Jack Velling. Well, very fortuitously, he is going to join us next on the other side of the break of Talkin' Beavers. But I know there's no football coming up this week, so don't worry. We got a chance for you to relive the win that was against UCLA. Take a listen to these highlights featuring our very own Mike Parker.
Beaver Nation coming out in huge numbers. Another sellout crowd.
By far, this is the biggest crowd, but a lot of people are in town for homecoming. They're here to get just a taste of what's going on this season with this football team.
Get it, baby. Let's go! Again, an RPO rolls left, and this is picked off by Arnold. Akili back the other way, 35 inside the UCLA 33. Hayden Childs fires, he's got Velling wide open. Jack makes the catch. Touchdown, Beavers!
That's how you play as a cornerback.
Stop with his track. Now you talk about arm strength to your left, throwing it right across the field.
Jumping Jack Velling, man.
Don't pay attention to the fear, you own it. Back to the wall, face your opponent. Ready for the war, winning is a bonus.
DJU to take a shot. DJ has time, and he's got a man open down the field. It's Bolden, wide open, caught. Touchdown, Beavers!
Big-time sack from Calvin Hart Jr.
And the timing on that play.
Beavers try to get home and do. An ankle tackle by John McCartan. 3rd and 11. He takes the shotgun snap, retreats. The ball is tipped. It's in the air, intercepted by Andrew Chatfield. And the Beavers have the ball in UCLA territory. They go quickly on 1st down, and a pass is picked off on the right sideline. Ryan Cooper Jr. 30, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown, Beavers! DJ to throw down the middle, wide open. Jack Velling down the seam. Touchdown, Beavers. Jack Velling again.
Game, set, and match. Oregon State's going to win this.
On to the next one, baby. Let's go.
Talkin' Beavers is presented by Par Lumber. His impact has been felt no more so than the last few weeks. Jack Velling with 2 touchdowns against UCLA, 5 over the last 2 games combined. He is this week's legendary performance presented by Abby's, a legendary pizza tradition. Welcome back to Talkin' Beavers. We are so excited now to be joined by sophomore tight end Jack Velling, who against UCLA was a menace. 2 touchdowns on 3 catches, sir. I want you to walk me through just how you were able to be so efficient against the Bruins.
Coach Langrini was calling these plays. I don't think I was supposed to get the ball against, on the first play, the flat route. I was wide open. Aiden obviously put the ball right on me. I was able to walk in there, so that was perfect. The second play with DJ, I like to say, but we've been running that play all. It was a new play this week, but we ran it all week. I didn't get the ball once in practice. I was really just thinking I was, trying to just hold on to the safety and let some other guys get open. But he had said before the play, hey, be alert for if it's cover 2. Sure enough, it was. And I was able to he put it right on me and I was able to walk in. So it was perfect.
That brings me to something that's kind of unique about the tight end position is you are asked to do so many things within your job description as tight end for Oregon State. How do you balance the blocking, the, sort of the decoy routes, and then always being ready for if the ball comes your way? How do you prepare for each individual scenario?
Yeah, no, I think that really Coach Waz he's a great coach, and I think he really puts us in the perfect place to succeed. All we really have to do is go out and make the catch or make the block when we have to. The coaching and I think being around, our O-line, they're very helpful. They communicate, where we're going, what we're doing. And it's tough, but I think the guys that surround me really help.
And Oregon State, that's something that fans are pretty used to. There's a long list of former tight ends who have come through Corvallis, who have gone on to make quite a name for themselves. What does it mean to you to carry on that legacy of great Oregon State tight ends?
Yeah, no, there's been great guys that's walked before me. You think about Noah, you think about Luke recently and Tegan, all those guys. It's helpful being able to watch some of their film. They've done great and they're doing great things still. It's pretty cool to be able to, at least try to follow in their footsteps. But no, they're all great players, even guys before them. But no, it's pretty fun to be a tight end at Oregon State.
And Jack, I know it's the bye week. It always comes at a great time after a long stretch of fall camp. And now here we are nearing the end of October. What is your biggest goal for the back half of the season for yourself?
I think just continuing to stack weeks, getting, better each week. Right up until this last week, I think we were playing some fantastic football. And I think just during this bye week, not to lose a step and just, not get out of groove totally and just, keep stacking and going to Tucson and getting a win there.
There you go. Well, we look forward to seeing you in the next game. Enjoy the bye week. Thank you so much for taking the time. Jack Velling, sophomore tight end at Oregon State. We'll see you back in action next week, and we will be right back on the other side of this break. Talkin' Beavers is presented by Par Lumber. Oregon State heads into the bye 6-1 on the season, but Beavers fans knows that some of the play calling has kept them on the edge of their seats. It's worked out so far. We're talking about the 4th down conversions. The Beavers, 6 of 6 in the last 2 games, going for it on 4th down. So Mike, Jason, I want to ask you guys, love it or hate it, going for it on 4th down?
Love it. I love it. I'm going to answer first, Mike, just because, and the reason why I love it is that I think it shows the confidence that, again, Coach Smith has in his players, and I think as long as he's making it and the players believe that they can make it, I love it. I don't see any reason not to keep on doing it.
No, I have always loved it. I've never questioned or doubted any decision Jonathan's ever made. Now, I say that with a slight degree of facetiousness only because there have been times, go ahead and punt it here. Go ahead and punt it here. A punt's not a bad thing. But you can't argue with the success rate, AJ. 6 for 6 is looking pretty good. And I guess I'm coming fully around to believing that when Jonathan says go, they ought to go.
Yeah.
There you go, Mike. I love it. He's converted you. And the good thing for Oregon State, and maybe some of the confidence that Jonathan Smith has in going forward in fourth down, is what's happening on the other side of the football. Because the Beavers' defense is something that we have raved about all season long, but against UCLA, fully on display. They had multiple turnovers, multiple forced turnovers against the Bruins. And in fact, this is a squad that has had a forced turnover in every single game so far this season. For the first 7 games, there's been multiple turnovers that the Beavers defense have forced. So Jason, got to start with you on this one. What are you liking? What are you liking about the impact that this Beavers defense has consistently had in the first half of the season?
Yeah, AJ, I think here's the thing that I find to be fascinating is that the fact that they have the ability to cause turnovers, like you said, but they also have the ability to put pressure on the quarterback and sack them and get them down. I mean, in this last game against UCLA, they had 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions all in the first half. And then in the second half, they didn't have any turnovers, but they had 5 sacks. So they are striking while hot, and they are like literally playing lights out defense on both sides of the ball, but specifically to me on defense, where they're turning the ball over and giving the offense opportunities to maximize their points and putting the team in a position to win games. And there's nothing bad that I could say about that. I mean, that's always a good thing. Would you agree with that, Mike?
Well, Jason, I'm glad to hear you speak on behalf of the defense again, as you did in our radio broadcast during the UCLA game. The Beavers had just driven the field. Ron Callan came to you and said, how about that quarterback play? You joined us on the radio. And you said, yeah, it's good, but how about the defense? When you started talking about the very things that you've been talking about. And you're right. The takeaways, the interceptions, the pick 6 by Ryan Cooper Jr. was really the difference in the game. It looked for a moment like the Beavers might be behind at halftime, the way just kind of the game was trending. And instead, Cooper Jr. pick 6 gives the Beavers a 13-point lead at halftime and a little bit of breathing room, which they needed against that good UCLA offense. That while we're praising the takeaways and the sacks, and there were 5, and the Beavers now have 22 sacks on the year after just 20 all of last year. So they're doing so many things well. Jason, would you concur, as a former guy trying to get people to the ground, the only thing that I think that'll give Trent Bray and the defense some concerns during the bye week they'll work on, being a little more sure in their tackling. 2 weeks in a row, it feels like they've had a Cal runner down or a UCLA runner down. It didn't quite get them down. Those are good running backs and tough, but I do think they'll probably need to get a little bit better in that area heading down the stretch.
Oh, without a doubt, Mike. And I think that'll be a point of emphasis. If I know Trent, I know one thing that he likes to do is really emphasize things that they're struggling with. So it'll give them some time to work on that in practice. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of drills in terms of trying to get ball carriers down. But I think they'll do a lot better as the season progresses. And all it really does take is to really emphasize the tackling and making sure that you're not letting a person go and that you're wrapping up, which I'm sure they'll do coming down the road. So.
And like you guys just mentioned, the Oregon State heading into their bye week, but that does not mean that there is not Pac-12 football that matters for the Beavers and their hopes of making it to that Pac-12 title game in December. So coming up next, we're going to break down the game to watch for Oregon State fans when the Oregon State Beavers are not actually playing. Stick with us. We'll be right back on Talking Beavers. Talking Beavers is presented by Par Lumber. Our look ahead brought to you by Leatherman, made of metal. Welcome back to Talking Beavers. Oregon State heading into their bye week, but plenty of impactful Pac-12 football going to be played this upcoming weekend. So you guys, I want to ask you, what is the game that you were most interested in watching this week? We got some good ones. We got Washington State at Oregon, Utah USC, Arizona State Washington, and then UCLA and Stanford. Which one are you watching, James?
Oh, man, I think that's a good one. I think, obviously, Washington State at Oregon is a really good one. I know there's going to be a lot of eyes on that. But I'm going to go a little bit of a different direction. I'm interested in seeing how USC responds to losing their first game against Notre Dame. They are playing against Utah at home. So I'm going to go in that direction, although I will be keeping close eyes on the Oregon game as well.
They're all interesting games. I'm glad the Beavers have a bye when they do, just for the sake of getting some guys who have been dinged up, as happens for every team through every season, a little bit healthier before resuming action against Arizona, which also has a bye. Arizona coming off that demolition of Washington State, 44-6, and finding a quarterback, playing great defense. The threat level on that game has risen greatly, heading down to Tucson for the Beavers the following weekend. But of all the games, AJ, it looks to me, the one I'm most interested in actually is UCLA at Stanford, based on Stanford's incredible comeback against another Beaver future opponent in Colorado, what they found in their offense, and UCLA probably reeling a little bit from getting beat up in Corvallis by the Beavers. I'll be interested to see what goes on the farm.
Yeah, Stanford taking down Colorado 46-43 on Saturday. So some really good ones for me. It is going to be Oregon, Washington State. I just think obviously Washington State, the only loss that the Beavers have had so far this season. Oregon, a future opponent, but there's a very good shot. The Cougs, like we've talked about, the absolute demolition in Pullman by the Wildcats, 44-6. They lost this week to Arizona. How does Washington State respond? Do they fall out? I mean, where they are in the rankings? Can they recover? That game to me is going to be really important. Oregon, of course, losing to Washington in heartbreaking fashion. If you're a Ducks fan, also, I want to see how they recover. So for me, I'm going to be watching that Washington State-Oregon game, but if whatever Pac-12 game you're watching, certainly plenty of implications. Oregon State, though, heading into their bye 6-1. Couldn't ask for much more. Would love that game in Pullman back if you're a Beaver fan, but everything still on the table heading into the bye week, and that is the good news that we will leave you with here on Talkin' Beavers. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy your bye week, Beaver Nation. We will see you next week.